everyone, and welcome to another episode of Turn Left. I am your host, Indiana's own Dana Black, coming to you live, yes, all the way live from Black Bro Studios, where we talk about Indiana politics from the left side of things. First, I got a rant, because that's what I do. I'm that kind of chick that, I sit around and watch the General Assembly session on a regular basis. I watch it all day. I watch it because I feel like there's nothing more important than what's going on in the State House, because those rules and those policies are going to impact all of us. And well, unfortunately, I had to listen to the Senate today as they were debating HB 1608. 1608 is essentially the anti-trans bill. And I listened to testimony from obviously people who will be negatively impacted by the bill, and they were giving their heartfelt testimony about why they shouldn't pass this bill, right? But then you had a couple of folks to get up that says that those of us that are supporting people who identify as trans were communists. I don't even understand how that works. How on earth are we communists and supporting trans bills? Don't get it. Doesn't make any sense to me. I'm going to need y'all to figure that out. The other aspect of it was some clown named Micah Clark. Y'all may have heard of him before, right? He's from one of them right-wing family what the heck evers. I don't know. He's one of those. He got up and said that the Bible and science tells us that there are only men and that there are only women. It's only binary. Someone probably needs to learn about human sexuality in school. Someone should have taken a biology class, an advanced biology class at some point. Because, I don't know, maybe he has never heard of intersexed humans. Maybe he has heard of intersexed humans, and he does not believe that they have the right to exist. Well, what is an intersexed human? Okay, well, so what is intersex? Intersex is an umbrella term used to categorize various reproductive and sexual anatomy differences that don't fit the usual male or female definition. In short, intersex individuals may have chromosomes, genitals, or internal reproductive organs that don't fit into typical male or female category, or may possess characteristics of both male and female. So basically, hear me out, these intersex folks, whom I don't know who any personally, because no one's really ever come out to me, but they do exist. But they don't fit into his binary definition of men and women. But this is his testimony. So his testimony was a bald-faced lie. And on top of that, I'm wondering if he doesn't either know about intersex folks or don't believe they actually exist, does he believe then that they deserve protections? Something to think about. Do intersex people deserve protections? Or should they be discriminated against and not offered any real opportunities to succeed in life? Because let's think about what happens here. See, you guys think that, oh my God, there's some people out there that think, oh my God, people just woke up one day and think they want to be a man when they're really a woman, or they're a woman when they're really a man. Well, let's go back to this intersex conversation I'm talking about. Sometimes people are born intersex, and the doctor and the parent in the birthing room, when the child is minutes, hours old, say, hey, we have something that's not normal or not usual, because I'm not going to say they're not normal. They're normal. If they weren't supposed to be normal, they wouldn't be here. We're going to say something is a little unusual, and we have some things you have to decide. What do you want to do? Do you want us to choose? Do you want to choose, or do you want to leave things as they are? And if you choose, based on the physical characteristics of the child that came out of the womb, you have a 50-50 chance of getting it right. You flip a coin, you say, you know what? Okay, I think life will be better for them if I choose male because of the way their body looks. Or I'm going to choose female because of the way their body looks. But the chromosomes and all the stuff on the inside may be something different. And so as you've decided that I'm going to say make this person a female, but all the while they feel like a male on the inside because you flipped the coin. That is not somebody with any mental defect. That is not somebody in mental crisis until you start to discriminate against them. Until you start to suggest that their existence isn't valid or they are not real. Until you begin to decide that they no longer have value and I want to marginalize them because they are not like everybody else. Or if you decide to let the child figure it out on their own, like we're not going to do any gender, we're just going to let the child just kind of grow up and blossom. Some outside person is going to say, well, they look like a boy, so they should be a boy, but they feel like a girl on the inside. There's so much to science, right? And I am by no stretch of the imagination a scientist. I am just one who understands that things are not black or white. I believe in the bell curve. I believe that the extremes are on the end and there are less of them than there are those in the middle. There are more people varied on the bell curve than extreme one way or extreme another way. But this is why this is so harmful, because you are saying we're not even going to talk to anybody about human sexuality to kids who may already be confused. So you know what they're going to do? They're going to browse the internet. And they're going to let Facebook and Twitch and Instagram and Twitter and YouTube explain to them versus a highly educated, well-trained, and certified educator in their schools. Because, they don't believe that there's a variation how humans exist on the planet. And anytime we try to legislate humanity like that, we're going to create a problem. We're going to stigmatize people and we're going to traumatize people. Y'all, this is a problem. And, Shelley Yoder, hats out to Senator Shelley Yoder and Senator J.D. Ford and Senator Fatty Cadora and Senator Andrea Hunley. Senator J.D. and Senator Shelley allow me to text them during the day while they're having these debates. And I ask them, would you please, somebody ask Micah Clark, has he ever heard of intersexed humans? And if he has, does he believe they deserve protections? Unfortunately, after he gave his lie-filled testimony, he left. He wanted to drop his nuggets of hate, and then he left. Same with the lady who was saying all of us are communists. Those of us who believe in protecting rights are communists. Now, mind you, the same chick who was standing up saying that we shouldn't teach human sexuality in school, which obviously I just kind of gave a quick lesson on maybe why we should. The same person was also saying we should ban books. She wanted to ban The Hate We Give. Same chick, the same person. The Hate We Give is a book that helps young people deal with what happens when young Black people are killed while they're unarmed by law enforcement. How do we handle that? How do we keep these kids from going into rage? That's what that book is about, but she wants that one banned. And I'm sorry, banning books never works. Obviously, banning human sexuality is kind of stupid too, especially since Northwestern University put out a results today of a survey they took that said Americans' IQ is dropping. I'm gonna need y'all to let that sit for just a minute. Americans' IQs are dropping. Now, they did put a caveat in the report saying, hey, we're not saying that people's intelligence levels may have dropped, but how they take tests may have changed. Yeah, whatever. I'm going to suggest defunding public education probably has a whole lot to do with the fact that our IQs are dropping. Y'all, I'm on a rant today because they keep attacking my people. I'm hot. But you know what? You guys keep listening to what's happening at the State House. Yes, that's the picture that I have behind me because I believe in it. This is our house. Keep keep holding these people accountable because they don't know what they are doing. They are really going to harm people. I cannot tell you how many people got up and said, what you are doing is going to cause people to want to commit suicide. Think about that. Young people who are already going through, we already seen reports of young girls being traumatized by Instagram and body images and things like that. And here we are traumatizing people and saying to them, your existence doesn't matter. You are not able to have free expression. If the way you choose to express yourself is counter to who we are going to silence you and we are going to strip you of your rights. This is what's happening in the State House right now. I need y'all to understand this is real. All right, that is my rant for today. And I am going to take the rest of this time because I tell you what, patience is a virtue. And I want to thank my guests tonight for being extremely patient while I try to figure out what was going on with my computer and get the other one set up. And as always, as our candidates are introducing themselves and sharing their information, if you like anything that they are going to share with you tonight, feel free to click their donate link. It's right there. Yes, their Act Blue links are there. Yes, we always turn these into mini fundraisers. And you know my show is always about love. And so as someone who loves all Democrats, all appearances on Turn Left does not mean it's an endorsement by Indiana's own, because I love all my Democrats. I want them all to do well. I love them all. So first up, I'm going to go ladies first. I tell you what, Bloomington is packed. I mean, there are so many candidates running for office for mayor down there. Woo! I'm glad I ain't got to vote. First up, y'all give it up for my first guest running for mayor of Bloomington, Susan Sandberg. Susan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dana. And may I just say that was one righteous rant. I was back here saying amen.
Thank you. I'm taking that from leadership. And let me tell you something. This is my brother. Y'all don't understand. Sean Denny is my brother. And even when he came to me and said, I'm running for mayor, I said, I have to stay neutral, bro. I have to stay neutral. Yeah. When I first ran for office, he was one of the first people that showed me where to go to get some training. He sent me to Hamilton County, which kind of, flubbed me up a little bit. I'm like, you sending me to Hamilton County?
A lot of going on at that point.
But I went. And it was the beginning. And since then, he has helped me understand so many things on the education front. He's been a teacher. He's been on the school board. He sits on the Lawrence. I love him. I need y'all to understand he's just not another candidate. He is my brother. But I still stay neutral. Y'all give it up for my second guest running for mayor of Lawrence, Mr. Sean Denny. Sean, welcome to the show.
All right. Thank you, Dana. That was absolutely a wonderful introduction. And I'm so proud of you and all the work that you're doing and paying attention to what's going on in the State House and giving us back that report. It's not like there isn't anything else going on. It's not like there's some toxic waste that might be coming through the state from Ohio.
Not might, is.
There's not like we're trying to figure out how to fund our public education and make sure that there's fairness and equality within the education system. It's not like we have potholes in the street that we need to fix and talk about. No, we have to find an issue that's really nobody's business but your own and try to bring it to the State House. So all to you, Dana, and the legislators that you gave a shout out to and the work that they're doing.
Absolutely.
Dana, I'm a fan of Jinx Monsoon, who I watch RuPaul every Friday night. I absolutely love her. And Jinx Monsoon was one of her all-stars and doing a phenomenal job of being a spokesperson for the non-binary issue that you so eloquently ranted about.
We don't win any fight in America, no matter if you're Black, you need white allies. If you're Latino, you need allies. Women, we need men allies. A lot of the things that we're fighting for, we got to have our allies. If we don't have folks that are fighting for us, because there's more of the majority than there are of us. But, I'm really passionate about, bullies. I don't like bullies. I mean, one of the things at the State House, and we're going to get to you guys in a minute, but I just kind of want to touch on this. One of the things at the State House that got my goat was listening to Senator Jeff Ratz bully witnesses. right? The idea that you would bully witnesses who take time out of their day to come and talk to the people and give testimony. Some people are taking off work. You know, why would you bully constituents? Does that make any sense? You're supposed to be a servant. Like that's my biggest takeaway, like, is watching our Democrats fight for us futilely, right? Because we know we don't have enough votes to do a lot of the stuff that we, want to do. But listening to these guys, beat up on witnesses, talk crazy, and I've said it like every show this year, somebody please go give Senator Liz Brown a hug. Make her some cookies. Give her something sweet so we can sweeten up that disposition, because she is mean. I don't mean no harm, and I ain't picking on women. I'm just saying she mean. But yes, thank you guys for acknowledging that. All right, let's get down to it. Susan, tell the people who you are and where you come from.
I am an at-large city council person here in Bloomington. I have been in this job for the past 16. Actually, this is the start of my 17th year. So I have been a dedicated public servant here in Bloomington. I have absolutely enjoyed my tenure on the city council, and
here in Bloomington,
when it was time to think about what I was going to do in this upcoming municipal, I have been urged by many people who have appreciated my service and the positions that I take and leadership skills that I show, encouraged me to throw my hat in the ring and run for mayor of Bloomington. And excellent. I feel that after these many years being an at-large citywide representative, I have the skills, I have the temperament, and I certainly have the knowledge about where things are at City Hall and how things work to become Bloomington's next mayor. So I am throwing my hat in this ring and very gladly running for office this municipal election.
So how long have you been in Bloomington?
I have been here since, I came to school here at IU, as many of us did, back in the early 70s, and stayed here for a while. Adopted Bloomington as my second home, actually. Met a love interest and followed that love interest to Chicago. So I was in Chicago for about a decade in the 80s. But after I married and had a child and got divorced, I decided to come back to Bloomington. I did not want to be a single mom in Chicago. I wanted to come back to be closer to family. So here I am back in Bloomington. We came back here, I believe, in 1992 and have been here ever since.
So what was it in your early years that made you want to be civically engaged and run for office?
Well, to be honest, I'm a late bloomer when it comes to political involvement.
Me too.
When I first came to school here at Indiana University, I was in music and theater. That was my focus, and that's where the first part of my career led me. Before, again, coming back to Bloomington this second round, I majored in psychology and got into social service work. I was working in the Child Protective Services system for a number of years. I had the privilege of working in Judge Talaferro's courtroom in her family court when I was doing that kind of work, investigating and doing ongoing case management. And then I was basically recruited. People saw me in the community. They saw my advocacy for protection of children and support of families who are vulnerable and on the edge. And people thought I might make a good city council person. So I was recruited by then Frank McCloskey. He had a few days to get me on the ballot. And that began my journey of becoming involved in local Bloomington politics. And it has been a real pleasure and a privilege to be able to serve this community. Again, since 2007, I've been on the council.
So what are some of your favorite things that you enjoy most about being a public servant?
It's the engagement. It is the opportunity to build relationships with all kinds of partners that you need to have at the city level. As you know, the City of Bloomington can only do so much with our own resources. We have to partner with our good community leaders in the private sector. We've got a really strong network of social service organizations, nonprofits that are serving low-income families, and that's my start, and that's actually where my heart is working with individuals who really are on the edge, some of those voices that we seldom hear from, but who have real serious needs in a community like Bloomington, where we have really very high poverty rates.
Wow.
And that goes unrecognized by a large amount of people in our community.
And that's interesting when you consider like the cost of living in Bloomington is like significantly higher than it is here in Indianapolis. You know, I know that one of the biggest discussions, and Sean, we're definitely going to talk about this with you as well, it is affordable housing. You know, everyone's talking about the lack of affordable housing, and then the fact that you brought up you guys have such a high poverty rate. What are some of the things that we could be doing better, right, to address that issue at all levels, not just at a mayoral level, but you know, how can we be better citizens to our unhoused folks?
Well, absolutely. It's been a focus of my attention for a long time. Actually, on the council, I formed a committee called the Affordable Living Committee, and we published a report in 2019 called Working Hard, Falling Behind. And that's kind of the story for a lot of people here in the community. The salaries for the cost of living being so high here in Bloomington with rents and housing costs, salaries are fairly modest. I mean, a lot of people are working 2 and 3 jobs just to make ends meet. And so if we don't have enough of the housing stock in affordable ranges for those individuals, they're going to be in a really difficult forced choice situation. So we have got to partner with everybody we possibly can who understands how to build affordable housing, who knows how to leverage those federal tax benefits, who we can subsidize to the best of our ability, and then partner with the private sector, the people in the real estate and the building trades who can help us out with that. Because I think a lot of what we're building right now in Bloomington is not the right kind of housing for the kinds of individuals that I certainly know about, right, who are struggling on the bottom ends of the socioeconomic ladder down here.
Yeah, and it seems like, you know, those that don't have a lot of money are always the ones left out. We're going to come back to you. Sean Denny, tell the people isn't this your second visit to my show?
Yeah, well, the first one was really a long time ago.
Okay, so tell the people who you are and where you come from.
Sure. So I'm, like you said, I'm running for mayor of the city of Lawrence, which is a community for those out in the rest of Indiana. It's a small town, about 3/4 the size of Bloomington, in northeast Marion County. So we're just south of Fishers and right next to McCordsville. Been on the council now for 1 term. And then before that, I was on the school board for our MSD Lawrence Township. Originally from Newcastle, I moved to Marion County in the early 90s, very same reason, to go to school, and ended up in Lawrence in 2009. And we decided to make this our permanent home because, you know, I'm from a small town. My wife's from Washington Township, so
North Central,
Marion County. There we go. And so she wanted metro and I wanted small town. So this was the perfect meeting of the two minds.
I love it. I love it. So, you know what, Sean, you've been out here doing like Susan, you guys have been out here doing this work for a long time. What made you want to get involved with public service?
So, well, as I've explored a lot of different things, as you know, Dana, throughout my career. I worked in banking, I worked in insurance, then I went on to become a teacher, which I absolutely love. So next to teaching, getting out in the community, this is probably the most just personally fulfilling occupation that I've ever found and been a part of. Before, I've also been the deputy trustee for Lawrence Township, worked with some nonprofits. So one of the pieces there is just getting out and meeting folks, finding out what's going on, and connecting with people with resources. And that, you know, it's very similar to that moment in the classroom when you see a child that gets it, or they're excited about what you're teaching, whatever the subject matter might be for that day. When that family that you're working with is finally has a moment of relief, or that the resources that you brought, they see that, okay, I can make it through this month. I can make it now, I think, through this year. Or, you know, maybe it up the economic ladder where maybe people aren't in that level of desperate straits, but they're happy that you're providing and helping out with their family, whether it's, installing some new pickleball courts or some other areas within our parks where your family can get out and have some fun evenings and some fun activities. To see and hear that, I think I would just say laughter, it has always just been a huge reward and for me personally. And, I enjoy doing it. And now I've been committed to it for, actually this month marks a decade that I've either been on the ballot or elected to office. So I continue to see myself doing this.
You know what? One of the things that I find interesting about you, and I wish other people actually understood this. You've run a couple of times, and you've not always been successful. Because I met you when you were running for Congress. Talk about the importance of, okay, I may not win a race, but I need to stay involved and continue the fight.
So yeah, my very first. So I've been on the ballot. So I ran 3 other times in Lawrence, and lost one time to Susan Brooks, Congresswoman Brooks. And at that time, it was Indiana's 5th congressional district, which was described as the most Republican district in the country, not in the state of Indiana, but in the country, the most gerrymandered district in the country. So it started out that there was nobody on the Democrat primary side. There was nobody on the Republican primary side talking about teachers. Mm-hmm. So I threw my name in the hat and I thought, well, I'll go and talk about education. And we won the primary. Our team won the primary. So I was like, well, I guess we just continue this on forward. And that's what we did, and talked about education, talked about the importance of trying to fund technical school. Maybe we can use 21st century scholarships and a combination of Pell Grants to fund Ivy Tech, and just all these different other ideas. One of the ideas I put out at the time was, at that time we had I-STEP testing, and other standardized testing. Well, maybe we can use the SAT or the PSAT, which is an actual test that has some meaning for parents and for students, and use that instead of these other tests. And you get the test scores back in 30 days. So it has some relevance to that year for the school district and the educator. And here we are 10 years later, and we use the PSAT and the SAT, for testing within our kids. And that's part of the graduation requirement, or could be one of your graduation requirements, depending on which path you use. I'm not saying that, everybody shined a light on me and said, wow, that's a great idea, and ran with it. There were others talking about it, but mm-hmm. I was there and advocating for that at the same time and taking that message around with me. And I think even if you've gone to the State House, you'll hear Representative Delaney say, we might be in the super minority, but we also have a super voice, and we can speak loudly even though we're a few. And I think that was the very important piece. I learned a lot from that one because, you learn from your wins, you learn from your losses. So in that year, we knew that, it was going to be a very low turnout. We were on an uphill battle. So it was just get the message out and stay focused on that. And that's what we did. And I think that regardless of where you're at in Indiana, if you're passionate about your message, then run and make sure it's heard.
Absolutely. I feel for you. Fortunately, I have 2 great representatives, so I won't be running anytime soon because the State House is where I want to be. I don't want to be mayor. I don't want to be governor. I want to be one of many, right? I want to be on a team. Right. But there's a lot of bills.
You ran in District 88.
Huh? Well, I'm not in 88 anymore.
I know, but back then, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
back then,
well,
you ran in 88.
Yeah, because BB was causing me problems. Right. He was passing that RIFRA nonsense. And so, I had to at least try. You're not just writing bills for abstract humans. You're writing bills about people who, pay taxes and are contributing members of the society. Right. Yeah. And he wanted to talk about, public accommodation. I thought we already had that conversation. Right. Mm-hmm. But y'all, let's stay on education right now, because the State House is really doing a lot to take away local school board control of education, curriculum. The book banning thing is probably the one thing that just, I don't get that. And I don't have my notes in front of me. Normally I would, and I apologize. But there's a couple of bills out there banning books, wanting to add more books to a book ban list. And there's also bills out there. The same bill wants to criminalize both librarians and teachers who distribute what they call harmful material to children. Now, there's no clear definition in the bill what harmful material is. That's what they're calling it. But they also passed a bill that says that we can give teachers gun training. We can fund gun training, because obviously a book is more harmful than a gun, right? No.
Well, I can certainly speak to this. Both of my parents were teachers, and my sister's a teacher in Johnson County. And so I'm kind of the black sheep in the family that I did not follow the education path that the rest of my family did. But my house is filled with books. I'm normally in a studio where you'll see bookcases behind me. The idea that we ban ideas and we ban critical thinking and we ban people's ability to inform themselves and educate themselves is absolutely frightening to me, given how I was raised in a family and in a culture that knowledge is power, ideas are power. And when you start limiting what people can research and read and think about, that is absolutely a form of mind control that is the opposite of a democracy. It's unthinkable to me that this is what's happening, and I don't know what we do about it. Again, my representative in the Senate is Shelley Yoder, who is phenomenal. Matt Pierce represents me in the House, and our representatives get it, and they do their best to fight against this tide, but they're in the minority.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So how do we? It gets to be tough when when you're talking about banning books, what's the stories that they ban? Because it could come back to their stories that they support. For example, I believe David in the Bible had 6 wives. I don't believe that book would make it into the library under this law if it was in a different context.
But you know what? That is a great analogy. I like that. You tell a story of a man with 6 wives and it ain't in the Bible. Mercy. Or the drunk. I mean, come on. Noah was a drunk. Everybody know that. He liked his whiskey. But anyway.
I'm not a biblical expert, but I know enough that there's some parts of it there that I think go beyond some of the books that they're talking about.
Well, and then the book Fahrenheit 451 is all about a dystopian society that burns books. And I mean, this is dystopian fiction that I feel like we're living in the state of Indiana these days. And it's just, it's unthinkable to those of us who, were raised in a family that absolutely, there's no book that we can't read, and we don't have the critical thinking ability to think it through. Do I agree with that book or do I not? That's my prerogative.
Yeah, yeah. And see, you guys both have sat on council for a while, and you get to hear from your constituents, particularly teachers, and we're seeing that we have vacancies all over the state. You two are very lucky in that you live in communities where there's pride in your education. Lawrence schools, I know, are doing great. Bloomington schools are doing wonderful. But talk about what you could do at a local level, right, to attract and retain teachers here in Indiana, even if it's just in your cities, because Indiana as a whole, we're losing teachers. What are you guys going to do as mayors, right, to try to attract quality teachers to your communities and get them to stay here in Indiana?
So, you're right, Dana. One of the things I'm really proud about with Lawrence, when I was on the school board, the school district had just started a program, and I helped to continue with its implementation of working to bring equity within our graduation rates, and within our career readiness. So now Lawrence Township School District, which is actually bigger than the city of Lawrence, so it goes into Indianapolis some. But the school district graduates the same percentage of African American, white, Latino, all social economic levels. And to give you an idea, the Lawrence Township has $10 million homes in it, all the way down to $60,000 homes. So we have a wide range of economic activity within our community. As far as I know, we're pretty much the only school district that I'm aware of that has the exact same percentages across all categories and subgroups. And that was a conscious effort. That was a conscious thing that was proposed and supported. It didn't take just the school board. The school board provided support. It was the teachers in the classroom. It was the superintendent. It was the principals. Everybody came together to work on this. And now we graduate the highest total number of African-American males that are career and college ready.
Wow.
With Marion County schools. So I think that is quite an accomplishment. But you take that forward into, the city of Lawrence, though, being a microcosm of the school district, needs to maintain that focus as well and make sure the economic activity of the entire city is represented from one side, from north to south, east to west, regardless of your community. You get ADA compliant sidewalks, whether you're in that $60,000 per home neighborhood, or you're in the $10 million neighborhood. You get access to the trails, the roads, the parks in the same vein as everyone else within the city. So that is a community, then you just develop that pride. And that's really what's missing, I think, within the State House. They talk about pride within our educators, but then don't let them negotiate for their own class size. Don't allow them to negotiate in the contract for quality of education, what they can have in their classroom. They've taken all of that away and said, well, if you're a better teacher, then we'll pay you a little bit more and try to make it competitive within each teacher. Educators aren't motivated by, everybody wants to make more, don't get me wrong, but they're not motivated specifically by that. They're motivated by the student success. Mm-hmm. So the success of your community, I believe, would attract successful teachers that want to be part of your community.
All right. Susan?
Right. What I hear from my sister is that, obviously teachers are underpaid for the amount of work they do and the incredibly important work they do. But again, my sister's in a situation, and of course it's not in Monroe County, it's in Johnson County. She's not feeling particularly supported by the administration or even the parents. And so being a teacher is just becoming a more and more difficult challenge. So we're seeing teacher shortages. So the question comes back to what can the mayor of Bloomington do? And the same kind of issue came up recently with a physician shortage that we're facing. And bottom line, we need to make sure that our communities are welcoming, that they are affordable, that there is a good quality of life here so that we assist the school system. MCCSC, who is headed up by Superintendent Hauswald, I'm sure he would appreciate a city government that makes sure that we really do have good public services, that we're doing everything we possibly can to try to increase the housing shortage issue that faces all of us throughout the state. It's not just a Bloomington problem, it's everywhere. And make sure that at least we have an environment that is amenable to their being able to recruit and make sure they have adequate numbers of really good teachers. It's critically important. It really makes me sad that the educational system really has taken some hits.
It is sad, and the top-down heavy-handedness is what really makes it bad. Indiana's own Dana Black turned left. We are talking to Susan Sandberg, who is the mayoral candidate in the primary for Bloomington, and my little brother, Sean Denny, who is also running for mayor in the city of Lawrence, even though he's way taller than me. And if you guys like what they're talking about, be sure to click on their donate links. They can always use a little help. $5 goes a long way to help them get what they need to represent you in your community if you believe in what they're talking about. All right, let's dive into the individual cities that they live in and talk about the issues that are really significant to why they are running. Susan, I'm gonna start with you. What are the three main issues that you, and go into as much detail as you would like. We will make sure that we give some room on that. What are the three main issues that you are seeing that you want to tackle right away when you become mayor of Bloomington?
Absolutely. And having 16 years on the Bloomington City Council, I am really familiar with the nuts and the bolts and what we're doing well and where we're having some shortcomings. So as far as my campaign is going, public safety is up there at the forefront. We are having, speaking of shortages, we're having issues, probably the rest of the state is as well, with the departure of our public safety officers, both in our firefighting units and also in our police department. So we need to take a real hard look at that and to recruit and make sure that we're keeping the well-trained and disciplined police department that we have that Bloomington can actually be fairly proud of. Pride is something that I feel very strongly about as somebody who has adopted Bloomington as my home. I've been here for a long time now. So public safety is probably a number one concern for me. I am also very much focused on affordability, and that's not just housing, it's the affordability of all things that are really putting stresses and strains on people's incomes and what they have to outpour their hard-earned money for. And last but not least, better collaborations. We really have suffered over the last 4 years in particular a difficulty working with our county colleagues. There are a lot of different reasons for that, but I am a good bridge builder. I'm good at building relationships, and I really want to do the best I can to dive in there and repair some of those relationships, as well as build stronger relationships with the administration at Indiana University. Again, we've got some incredible community leaders here, and we need to listen to them, and we need to respect what the constituents of Bloomington want us to do for them with respect to basic essential city services.
I love it. So let's talk about public safety for a minute. When we talk about public safety, I know we want to have a police force that is good at serving the public and accountable to the public. But I think a lot of times when we talk about public safety, and I think you've hit on it a little bit, but I want you to dive a little deeper. We don't always talk about the underlying issues that lead to crime rates.
Absolutely.
Talk about some of the ideas that you have, because if you're used to talking to our underprivileged folks,
Absolutely.
how would you address some of the underlying issues that lead to the crime rates that we're seeing?
Yeah, I was on the board of directors of the South Central Community Action Program. I served as their president for a while. So I'm very, very familiar with individuals who actually have reasons, and in many cases, they have good reasons to be fearful of our public safety officers, of our police departments. And of course, the city of Bloomington has been very fortunate. We have an excellent chief and Chief Dekoff. He really is quite good at making sure our officers are well trained. He was one of the first to adopt the 21st century policing policies that President Barack Obama had brought forward. We were putting resource officers on the ground to deal with some of our more difficult, chronically homeless situations in our downtown. We now have embedded social workers within the Bloomington Police Department, and that has been a game changer as to how people perceive them and the work that they're doing in the community, to work with individuals who may be fearful of police and don't necessarily want the police to respond to various things that a resource officer or a community specialist could respond to. So Bloomington is ahead of the game in making sure that we have the nice balance between people dealing with criminal behaviors, our rapes, our gun violence, where we're seeing a real serious increase in gun violence in Bloomington. Now, this is not the fault of our homeless populations. We actually have, an influx because drugs are a big issue here in Bloomington. We've got a market, obviously, for some of the more dangerous drugs that are on the streets, and that Bloomington does attract a certain amount of that criminal element that our police department are having to deal with. And our homeless populations are often exploited by some of these criminal elements that are coming to Bloomington. We're dealing with the whole addiction issue, the opioid crisis, the meth, the fentanyl. It's really bad, and we absolutely need everybody to be on point and take heed of how do we keep our community safe for absolutely everyone who lives here.
I love it. I love it. Because I think a lot of times, and the reason why I'm kind of stuck there for a minute is because they think people just are criminals because they just got a criminal behavior. But a lot of times it's out of necessity, right? A lot of times people, they make bad choices because they're in desperate situations. And I don't think a lot of people really take into account. And honestly, and I'm going to cut both of y'all some slack. I don't think that the mayor can control the crime rate. Not like that. I mean, the prosecutor can't, right? So I applaud I think I'm excited, for you, and that you actually have an understanding of those who are struggling. I think that is a miss a lot of times. Everybody who's successful sometimes forgets that there are people who are making decisions based on desperation, and it makes them do things. So if we address that, we can get better at it. All right, Sean. What are the three things that you want to address in Lawrence?
Well, before I add that, public safety is part of that list. So I'll just jump in there, right? And I won't take all the time, Susan, because I know you had a point that you wanted to throw back in there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I miss that? I must have blinked.
That's all right. Why don't you make your point before you forget, Susan?
Yeah, my point is, I know this up close and personally because when I was doing work in child protective services, right, we're dealing with some of the worst, abuse, neglect, sexual offenses against children. And unfortunately, later on in my career, after I was not doing child protective services work, I did a lot of volunteer work for New Leaf, New Life, working with the Addicts and Recovery Program in the Monroe County Jail. And unfortunately, what I saw coming back into the jail were some of the kids that I had as youths in my group homes in Bedford, who, because of the dysfunctions in their family and the poverty in their family and the domestic violence they were dealing with, they were in the criminal system. It broke my heart to see it, but it doesn't surprise me because if we're not taking care of our children, if we're not giving families what families need in order to be able to be good parents to their children, we're going to see an increase in criminal behaviors later on down the road. It starts on the early end, and unfortunately, we see it come into our jails and prison systems on the back end.
I think you're right. All right, Sean. Come on, little bro.
All right. Just to jump, that's a tough act to follow, but you're exactly right. I think
iron sharpens iron, baby.
What's that?
Iron sharpens iron, baby.
There we go. So our community Lawrence is a little bit different. This used to be the home of Fort Benjamin Harrison. There's still some DFAS units and so there's commissary and things here in Lawrence. But for up until the base closed in the mid 90s, the fort was the majority of the city. So our police force was more, I think the MPs outnumbered our police force, at that time. And so our force has really grown since about the late 90s. So relative to some other communities, yes, there's always been police within Lawrence, but it's not been the sizable force that we want it to be. And right now we have about, I think we're authorized for 65 officers, but because of how hard it is to hire, we're at about 58. We really need to be closer to 80, to be honest. To really cover everything, even within that includes the detectives and all of those other pieces that go into public safety. But to your point, Dana, collaboration is a huge piece of our public safety. Mm-hmm. We don't have within Lawrence the homeless shelters and the domestic violence and those other shelters. They're part of downtown Indianapolis. And so we need to collaborate then with Indianapolis in order to access those resources and to collaborate then with the rest of the city. Around that same time, I think it was in the mid 80s, but it really expanded in the 90s. The Lawrence PD started a large chaplaincy within the police department, which has kind of evolved into some of the outreach, the negotiation, and the mental health checks, even for the officers, but also for the community when those issues arise, when you need to go and talk with somebody. You're not, I'm in control because I'm wearing the uniform. No, let's talk it through and work that on. And what has happened in Marion County, the Marion County Jail, and I'm sure this is the same, countrywide or throughout all of Indiana and other places. They are the largest mental health provider in Marion County. Mm-hmm. Is our county jail. Yeah. And so recognizing what's there and getting resources in that direction before someone ends up in a place where they're making decisions that have caused them to harm themselves or others, and the police are involved, I think goes a long way towards public, helping out with public safety. We're fortunate that I believe the crime rate in Lawrence is lower than what it is in the rest of Marion County. So we do have some good responsiveness there, and we've made some great strides because of some of the community policing that our officers have undertaken, and they've really just done a fantastic job with that. The fire department has been, in some ways part of that too. just doing the outreach, the responsiveness. We have our own EMS, and what they have done with, the fire chief runs I'm going to mess up the name of it, but it's if you need a mattress, give him a call and he'll bring a bed to your house, a mattress, so you can have some place for you and your children to sleep. They also do the firefighters family assistance fund, where every Christmas they collect toys, almost like a Toys for Tots type program, and distribute toys out to the family. So it's maintaining that we're a small enough community where the folks, the government officials, the officers, the fire folks, and the firemen that can get out there, and firemen and women that can
fire people,
fire folks, and connect with everyone. And then really along with that though, Data, our city is almost that little that diamond undiscovered gem, if you will, because we really didn't start developing until the end of the 90s because of the fort, going through that closure, opening up the parks and bringing things back in. Then 2005, 2008 hit with the economic slowdown. So our city started developing and really building itself back up in the mid 20-teens. And at that time, Fishers came along, McCordsville came along, and these other communities are growing up really fast. So we need to change our image in Lawrence. Right now, folks think, we'll just drive through it, drive down Pendleton Pike or State Road 37, just right on out of town. Well, no, this is a place where you can stop. There's things to do on the fort. The Heartland Film Festival is here now. We have the Arts for Lawrence. We have a lot of great cultural activities coming to our city. And so we need to accentuate that and build on those pieces. That is, I think, what was it in the news? Indiana's one of the least fun. In that report, I didn't read the article, but I saw the headline that we might not be the funnest state to come visit or to hang out in. Well, we need to turn that around in Lawrence and make this a really fun community.
Because they didn't meet me.
I think that's what it was. They didn't watch you or hear the show.
They didn't meet Indiana's own. They'd have a blast if they hang out with Indiana's own.
I'll send you that article. I think I just read that headline today, and I gave notice of that headline. But anyway, the point is there's stuff to do in Lawrence, and we just need to build that up and let people know about it. We're right on the 465, Interstate 70, Pendleton Pike. I mean, we're right along all of these major thoroughfares. So we're great for business. We're great for residents who have to travel to work to live here. And actually, even going to your housing question, Data, earlier, that is another piece that we need to address. 70% of an economic activity is based around your residence, where you live, because even though you might drive somewhere to work, well, you do drive somewhere to work. So you do some of your spending there, but when you come back, you've got to buy your water heater. If it goes down, you have to do some furnace, you do your home repairs, your grocery shopping, all of that activity somewhat occurs around your home. So making sure folks are able to stay and work within their homes. That was something I was passionate about before I ran, as I was also the coordinator for the Indie Rent program, which statewide, that was kind of the COVID program that came under the CARES Act, and helped over 500 families stay in their homes that were impacted by the COVID shutdowns that were facing eviction. And a lot of times we walked in with checks and handed it to the landlord minutes before they were walking into the eviction court. Mm-hmm. So, making sure that people are able to stay in their home, because that's also what helps our graduation rate, is being able to stay in your home, and then your kids can continue to go to your school district. The rent rates here, we're in an interesting spot where the rent rates went up, and so did the occupancy rates within Lawrence. So we got a little bit of work to do to find some affordable housing options for a lot of our residents.
I love it. You guys have given great, thorough answers on some of the issues that you want to tackle in your cities. But both of you are very unique in that you sat on the legislative body of municipal politics, which is the fiduciary, the people that's responsible for the money and where it goes. And you're both are transitioning to the executive level. Tell us how, having served on the council is going to be a benefit to you as you transition into the executive level, and then maybe some things you might need to work on because of, your views of being on the legislative body. Susan, you can start first.
Sure. Well, I think it's going to give me some great insight, having been on the other side of the branch of government, the legislative branch, the one responsible for approving the budgets. But actually, mayors, it's a strong mayor system right here in Indiana. And actually, mayors have quite a bit to do when it comes to working with the department heads, coming up with the budget plans, coming up with the priorities that then the city council has to vet and question and approve. So I think my 16 years of being through 16 budget cycles will give me a really good perspective on moving up from being an ensemble player when you're one of 9 on the Bloomington City Council, it's a different dynamic than it's going to be when you are in the top job and you're the one responsible for the facilitation, the choosing of the next batch of the leadership and what the vision is going to be going forward. So it will be an adjustment. There's no two ways about it. But I've been in leadership positions before to where I'm very confident that I can do it. I can make that shift. And again, I will still remain an ensemble leader, not a top-down leader, but someone that absolutely knows how to collaborate. I know where I don't have the expertise and where I'm going to need to bring somebody in who does have that expertise. So I'm old enough and experienced enough to know what I have to do to acclimate myself to the top job.
Honey, that's what they say. Experience is a good teacher. Anyway, Sean, I know I can't sing. It don't matter.
No, go ahead. That is all right. We can play some background music.
See, Sean, tell us how it's gonna, how serving on the council is gonna help, or maybe some things you had to improve on.
No, you're right on point, Dana. So I actually chair the finance committee and have since I've been on the council. And so this is an area where I have a really deep understanding of the budget and what each of our departments are kind of focused on and going through. So there is that piece where we know what's there and how do we implement it, and then how do we, as a mayor, how do you present that back to the council? I think really a piece that's currently could be improved on is just some transparency and accountability within our budget. If there's a budget line that has 700,000 in other, it really doesn't tell you a lot. You need to ask some questions and probe at that. And really, when the mayor brings that information to the council, you should break that down a little bit and not be surprised that there's going to be some questions, because there are going to be some questions. We're the fiscal body of the community. We need to know what's in there, especially if it's labeled as other or whatever other pieces may be within that budget, and just understand some of the budgetary pieces. And that's actually, we transitioned very quickly from a third-class city to a second-class city. And so now we're kind of in that growing pains where we're more professionalizing the way our budget is presented and the way the transparency piece works. So I'm hoping to bring that, the experience of what I would like to have seen as the finance chair to the mayor's office, and then bring that to what we will see out of Mayor Denny's administration when we present the budget back in 2024.
I think that's pretty cool, because I remember the budget from last year and the fiasco that was. So I'm hopefully you'll have a controller that'll be willing to answer questions this next time. Yes, one more question, guys, because even though I started late, we're still coming close to the end, and this has been a really good conversation, because one of the things I'm feeling, I feel things, but you two are two of the most down to earth people that I've had on the show at the same time. There's just something genuine. Not saying that my other guests weren't genuine, but there's just a feeling that I get in chatting with you two that I think, I hope other people are feeling it as well. But explain to us what your leadership style is like. Again, go into detail on how you will lead and how you will be someone that your constituents can rely on. Sean, I'm going to start with you on that one.
Sure. So for me, I like to build teams, and I like to build collaboration, and then build supportive teams where we have shared success. So, I'm not looking to say, okay, well, this department head, you need to do X, Y, Z and do it this way, especially if I have a department head that's worked 20, 25 years within that area. We need to get the community feedback, of course, but also then let those that are closest to the project lead some of the project, and then bring back some solutions and collaborate with those solutions. So a little bit now, where I have to struggle as a teacher, sometimes I'll throw out a rubric and want a grade, but I have to remember that that department head as an adult may not be interested in the rubric, but have a conversation with them, and then just share that success and build up the team that we have.
Well, Dana, I appreciated that comment that you made about being down to earth, because I do feel that about myself. I am, come from an average family of average income, and to have this opportunity is certainly a great privilege. But John, I was going to say to you, I think it may be an advantage for your next council, because there is a council election going on too, to have a mayor that understands what it's like to be on the council. And I think my leadership is certainly one where I want to assemble a great team. And when you respect your team and you hire them because of their expertise, you want to listen to them. You want them to guide you and give you the information you need to be a good mayor, to be a good executive. I don't ever want to be the kind of mayor that people are afraid to tell me the truth. You need to tell me what's going on in your department. Don't kind of just, tell me what I want to hear. Tell me what's going on. What do we need to fix? And I think that's been a little bit of an issue. We definitely need to have that mayor that's an open ear, that is willing to take in the feedback from the people whose boots are on the ground. I do ride-alongs with our Bloomington Police Department. I listen to them. I hear them. I understand what they're up against. I make it a point to go to the fleet garage and see what they're up against. They're the ones that keep the rolling stock going. And so I will be a very hands-on mayor in that regard, in regarding my personnel and respecting them, making sure they're paid adequately. But I also need to have great faith in my department heads that they will be honest with me and let us know where we're falling short of the mark and where we need to step it up.
I love it. I love it. You guys, I really appreciate this conversation tonight, because I really feel like both of you are really genuine people, and I feel the connection. All right, Susan, tell the people where they can find you.
I have a website, www.susan-Sandberg, and that's with an ERG.com. I would welcome people to come and visit that. We're adding new things on there all the time. We're into forums and debates, and it's getting busy. Love to have all the support I can get. Thank you for having us, Dana.
And do you have any events coming up that we should be aware of?
Oh, we have all kinds of events coming up in terms of the forums and the debates. And I think this is critically important when we have a contested primary, that everybody have a chance to hear us head to head. We've got some forums coming up from the Heading Home group. We've got forums coming up from disabilities and inclusion. All kinds. League of Women Voters are having forums. The WTIU, FIU will be having forums. So there are all kinds of opportunities for Bloomington voters to get a chance to see us all head to head and see who they want to vote for to be Bloomington's next mayor. Looking forward to all of it.
Well, Bloomington, you are a blessed city. You have amazingly talented people running for office. You have 2 women and a Black man looking to lead your city. You are doing the work and making sure that the world is a better place. I congratulate you guys for turning out such amazing candidates. Sean, tell the people where they can find you.
Sure. So online, it's mayor.It.com. And like you were saying, my last name's spelled with an EY. You could probably see it in the background there. Or you can also go jennyforlawrence.com. It'll take you to the same place. We're on Facebook, Instagram. As far as I know, Twitter is still running, so we're on Twitter as well. Check us out on all of those different places.
I love it. And do you have any events coming up?
We have a lot of getting out of the community events. Like you were saying, League of Women Voters events are coming up. In the newspaper, there's a few interviews that are out there. I think being in Marion County, Indianapolis team seems to soak up some of the conversation, but Lawrence is still important. So check us out. You'll see on the website some of the things that we have going on.
Well, I agree 100% that Lawrence is important. You know, when I go to other counties, the towns are usually pretty separate. Like Ellisville and Bloomington are kind of separate, right? Whereas in Indianapolis, in Marion County, we have Indianapolis, which is the major city, but then we have these, what do they call them? What do you call them?
They're called excluded cities.
Excluded cities, that's it. So we have a few of
yeah.
those in Marion County: Speedway, Lawrence, Beech Grove, Cumberland, I think, is one. So
yeah.
and it's kind of unique in that you have to share resources with Indianapolis. But I congratulate again, Lawrence. You turning out talent. You got some great people on the ballot. Sean Denny, I know, and I gotta give Amber a shout out because my little sis, she's holding it down. Amber Denny is the dopest woman on the planet. If y'all have not met And I'm gonna tell you why I love Amber Denny so much. She was the first person to ever interview me when I was running for office. Like
Oh,
she
is that right?
she
I didn't know
sought
that.
me out. Not that I went and looked for her. She was like, hey, me and
Okay.
Keith Potts, Councilman Keith Potts. She
Yes,
interviewed
I
us
remember
for
that.
her piece in Nouveau, and she's been my homie, sister, friend ever since. And to be in love with both sides of the couple is amazing, and I appreciate y'all for loving on me and checking on me and
Oh,
fussing
we
at me
absolutely
too.
do, Dana. You're
Guys,
amazing. You fixed
thank
our
y'all so much
refrigerator.
for tuning in. Listen, I didn't do my normal show rotation because I wanted to get in, and I apologize for, again, the delay. As always, candidates, you need digital content. You need someone to help you put a 30-second commercial together. Now, I used to say, and I still say it, I don't have drones, so I won't be doing drone shots, but I do have a gimbal. And if you know what a gimbal is, then that means I can kind of follow you around and we could do some pseudo action shots. But I also have a full studio, which allowed me to jump from a broken computer to a working computer within an hour, right? But here's the deal. You go out and I want you to price how much it's going to cost you to have an organization either here in Indiana or that's much longer than Black Pearl Studios, how much it's going to cost you to get a 30-second spot. And then after you've talked to them, you come talk to me, because I get a paycheck from a whole nother company. I'm not in it to make money. I'm in it to help elect Democrats. And when your motivation is different, your pricing structure is different. I care about you as the candidate, not as someone who is a dollar for me. So please, and I want to do the work. Right? I want to do the work. So reach out to me if you need content from a 30-second, 60-second to a 90-second. Any longer than that, you need to sit down and be quiet and rewrite your script, because that's too long. And we can do it in the studio. We can do it at Joe Joint. I got lighting. I got backdrops. I have everything you need to create and produce a quality video for you to use on social media, for you to use on your ActBlue page, because you should have an ActBlue page by now. And you can use on your websites, Twitter, Facebook. I'm telling you, I have what it takes to generate quality video for you. And then here's the thing. I'm going to make sure I get all the requirements from you. I'm going to produce the video. We're going to talk about what you want to say. And then if you're not like it, I'll keep working at it until you do like it, because I want you to be happy. My name ain't on it. Your name's on it. So reach out to me. And as always, y'all reach out to Bohm's Unique Boutique. They weren't a sponsor tonight because they were supposed to be, because last week messed up, and we're going to do it again. Bohm's Unique Boutique. Look them up. I want to make sure that I get them hyped up. And if you want to be a sponsor of Turn Left, and you want your events sponsored to be a sponsor of my show, click or scan the QR code right there. It has all of my contact information. You can find, I told you all the time, I'm easy to find. And let's talk about how we can enhance and amplify whatever it is that you're doing, and how we can share your message all around the state. Because, I'm Indiana's own. I'm not Marion County's own. I'm not Indianapolis's own. I'm Indiana's own. 92 counties, 9 congressional districts. I love all of y'all. So let's amplify those voices, because there's a lot of people out here that I know that are doing the same work that I'm doing. And let's figure out how we can amplify what it is that you're talking about. And to all the candidates, reach out to me. Black Pearl Studios is where you can get your product produced. Y'all are amazing. I wish y'all the best of luck. Susan Sandberg is running for mayor of Bloomington, and my little brother, Sean Denny, who is running for the city of Lawrence, mayor of city of Lawrence. I wish y'all the best of luck. You guys have tough primaries. I love that I get to stay neutral. I don't have to voice my public opinion, but I think you guys are amazing. You did a good job. And if y'all have any questions or anything, feel free to hit me up. And I have 2 more guests, 2 more mayoral candidates coming on next week. Yes. It's all about the leaders. This is all about the municipal races this year. Yes, I'm obsessed with the State House. Yes, I am. But it's all about municipal races. All politics are local. And I want the State House to let y'all control your municipalities. I don't want them to continue to write policies that said that the state is going to take over whether or not people can give unlicensed conversion therapy. Yeah, there's a bill in the State House for that one too. All right, y'all. I will holler at y'all next week. Peace. Turn Left is the property of Black Pearl IT Solutions. Executive producer, Indiana's own Dana Black. Music by www.bensound.com.